Hello, and welcome to the Activation Nation podcast, your weekly source of actionable advice from industry experts in self-development, health, LifeVantage products, network marketing, and more to help you activate your wellness, your business, and your life. Today's episode focuses on product, one of the 4 pillars of belief. But first, the legal stuff. You may hear our guests talk about the income they've earned or how their health has been affected with LifeVantage. Please note that the average annual earnings of a typical active LifeVantage distributor in 2021 was $704. For the most up-to-date information, please click the link in our show notes. Any product statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Our products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. And now, here's your host to dive into today's story to help you activate your life.
Hello, Activation Nation. Welcome to the Activation Nation podcast. We got a good episode for you this week. You're going to hear from one of our hosts, Jesse Allen, who is our Senior Vice President of Global Product Marketing. And in this week's episode, he sat down with Dr. Nancy Bryan, and you're going to hear their conversation about the importance of making the right decisions when formulating products. Lots of good content in this week's episode, so we hope that you enjoy.
Dr. Nancy, how are you?
I'm excellent. How are you, Jess?
I'm doing really, really well. Thank you. So Nancy and I were just catching up just a little bit, and I hope it's okay. I don't mean any disrespect by calling you Nancy. I know you worked really, really hard for that doctor title. I just happen to be a bit informal when we do these, and as long as that's okay with you, I'm gonna continue to call you by your first name.
Absolutely. I love it. It's much more comfortable for me too, actually.
Okay. Well, perfect. Well, I appreciate, as I was saying, we were just catching up briefly before we pushed record and went live. And Dr. Nancy recently spent a big amount of time as chairperson of the Phoenix Open. You correct me what I'm saying incorrectly, right? But just a massive and major golf tournament that took place in Phoenix at the beginning of February or in the middle of February, and I think in conjunction with the Super Bowl and everything going on. And it's surprising that she has any hair left after dealing with all those golfers and shuttling people around and managing cars and fleets of cars and volunteer personnel, and just a monumental effort, but all for a very, very good cause. If I understand correctly, the initiative with that is a fundraiser that supports children in the Phoenix area. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
And you guys raised $15 million?
It's usually somewhere around $15 to $20 million. And it's just awesome to be able to be part of that. So that's my give back.
Unbelievable. Well, congratulations. That's amazing. And is that like helping with youth activities or underprivileged children, or how's that?
It's all over the board. It's all kinds of different kids in all different situations. But you know what? They do a great job of just really helping to support all kinds of kids, everything from kids that are homeless to kids that have special needs. And you know what, it's been something that's been going on a long time. It's gotten very big. This was my 26th year. I can't believe that. And you know what, it's surrounds myself with incredible people that are also volunteering. And it's just a really awesome part of what goes on in Phoenix.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. That's so fun. And thanks for sharing a little bit about that. I love the fact that you're able to do that, and that your life affords you the ability to volunteer and provide such service. I think that's just so cool. So thank you.
Oh, it's wonderful to be able to do it. It's definitely one of the perks of being part of LifeVantage, not being tied to offices, desks, pharmacies, all of the above.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you mentioned pharmacy, so we should mention a little bit about you and your background. Dr. Bryan's a pharmacist by education and by profession, and also a product formulator, which is why, well, we're going to get into that a little bit, because today we're going to be talking about LifeVantage D3 Plus, a product that we released earlier this year in January, so just a few months ago. And Dr. Bryan was central to the development of that product, and a product or similar that she had experience with in other formulations throughout her career. So it made sense that she was involved with it, and part of the whole Rise AM Reset PM and D3 development, and we'll get into that. But maybe just a little bit about you, because there are certainly people that are on the call with us tonight that some of them don't know who you are. They might be their first time on the call, or their friend said, "Hey, you got to check this out. I want you to see what's going on and what we're doing here at LifeVantage." And so you and I have talked enough times, and we've actually done this exact thing with an Activate Thursday in the past. And I usually have like your bio, and I don't have it in front of me. So we're going to kind of piece this together. Remind me of your education and how you became a pharmacist, and not just me, but those that are watching, so they understand a little bit more about you.
Well, that's really an interesting path, because I did not start out going to pharmacy school. Most pharmacy students go to school for a few years and apply for pharmacy school and go to pharmacy school. I had other intentions at the time. I actually had planned on being an MD, and I had a master's in molecular biochemistry and was in process. I was actually in medical school at Michigan State University and got very sick. And that was kind of the beginning of my story of what brought me to pharmacy school. It was actually just going to be easy to get out of school fast, which doesn't sound great, but it was all I had at the time. I'm like, okay, I can do this and be done quickly, because I had so much experience and education already. But what it was beneficial for is when I did become a pharmacist, right off the bat, I knew pharmaceuticals were not the only answer. And this is a long time ago, back when a lot of people were like, what is wrong with you? And so I know there's places for medications in our world when people have very serious illnesses, but I knew they were not the place we needed to be to get better. And that really came from the molecular biochemistry background and my infatuation with vitamins and plants and nutrients and all those sorts of things from my undergrad studies. And so for me, it was just the perfect blend. And today I'm so just blessed, because I have all the background of pharmaceuticals, and yet I have all the nutrient background as well. And there's very few people that see it from both sides. So that's kind of my background, and what really brought me to LifeVantage. When I saw what they had, it was the next step above everything that I had seen nutrient-wise. So that really excited me.
Yeah, and certainly that background affords you a very interesting perspective on product development, the types of products that we offer versus maybe the types of products that other companies offer. Pharmacy? Was that done at Michigan State University as well, or did you do that at different schools?
I actually went to a small university in Michigan called Ferris State for my pharmacy degree, but all the rest came from Michigan State. And you know what? It was one of the largest pharmacy schools in the country at the time. I think we had over 300 students in my class, which was huge, but there weren't very many women at the time. Boy, has that changed. Loved it. It was great.
So Nancy the Trailblazer.
Yes, always. Probably troublemaker too.
Nancy the Trailblazing Troublemaker. That for sure is going to be the new title. The Trailblazing Troublemaker. Hold on, I have to write that down.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, I'm spelling trouble.
You didn't see that light, did you?
I love it. Also, I think, just so those know that are on this call, Nancy also serves on the scientific advisory board here at LifeVantage. The scientific advisory board is made up of a collection of healthcare professionals that also are affiliated with LifeVantage as consultants. So they're out representing the brand. They are selling the product, interacting with customers and prospects and other consultants, and training and developing and working as a consultant. But they also, which gives them a very unique perspective as they come back and interact with corporate. So the scientific advisory board works very closely with our R&D team, as well as the product team, the broader product team at corporate, help guiding and steer, product development, formulation, just product direction. And they also are very influential in product training. So they help with things like this Activate Thursday, as well as training at our different events and different conferences. And it's all on a volunteer basis. As a consultant, they're a consultant like other consultants for LifeVantage, but the SAB specifically, or the Scientific Advisory Board, is not a paid position. But it is certainly a demanding position, and we ask a lot of them and require a lot of them. And I don't know what the actual count is. I don't know. I guess I could sit here and think of it, but there's 10 or 12 different individuals, and from various different backgrounds. So Nancy's a pharmacist. We also have chiropractors. We have a couple MDs, surgeons, nutritionists, and collectively they are invaluable. Individually, they're invaluable, but collectively, they're also invaluable in helping with development and direction of our product line, and more specifically, the benefits that we're trying to provide to individuals with our products. So, with that, let me first just say thank you, because that service is really well, like I said, it's invaluable, and we greatly appreciate it. So. And I'm certain that those that are watching tonight appreciate it as well. So let's talk D3 Plus.
All right. Well, as we were talking earlier, I am very passionate about this. It's been something that's been part of my background and history for a number of years. And so when I was asked to be able to help have some input into this part of the new, what we call multi-nutrient system, I was super excited because I know the value of doing the things that we're doing. And so really what sets our D3 apart, I call it, and several have called it, something new under the sun. People have equated D3 or vitamin D with the sun as the sunshine vitamin. And so I look at this as being something like the new 2.0 or even 3.0, if you will, because we are taking it, and it is meant to go along with our Rise AM and Reset PM, which is our new multi-nutrient system. And what I love about it is it's so unique. It's custom designed like there's nothing else. And again, this goes back to the concept you guys have put together beautifully: right nutrients, right amounts, right time. And the D3 fits right in with that perfectly. So I'm super excited to talk about that. So first and foremost, what I want to talk about a little bit is the fact that it is an excellent source of D. And we've chosen D3, which I will go into a little bit more detail in just a minute. But it also is an excellent source for K2. D3 works best with K2, vitamin K2, magnesium, calcium, and other nutrients that are essential for supporting all kinds of activations that happen in our body. And as everyone may be aware, we are the activation company. And so this goes along with that, the fact that it's not just supplementation, it's helping the body to have things that it needs for hundreds of processes. Okay.
Can I, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but that is somewhat newer research that talks about the benefits of vitamin D and K, or specifically K2, together or in combination with one another. And maybe you're going to speak to this already, but can you help us understand that a little bit? Or if you're going to, just say, yeah, I'm going to get there.
Well, I am. I'm going to get there. So if it's okay with you, I want to give just a little bit of background first so that we can kind of get an idea of why that part does come into play with the D. All right. So first and foremost, but it's an excellent question. So, because most people are like, hey, what is that? I don't even know what that is. So we will address it. But first, what I want to address is the actual what vitamin D is. You know, people know about it. It comes in their milk and they've heard about it from the sun or whatever. But what it actually is it's the only vitamin that the body actually produces. I mean, the real definition of vitamins is having to go on an outside source to get them into your body because you don't make them. But we actually do produce D, and it's when we are when our skin is exposed to the sun. So that's a really important information. But let's talk about where we are today with that. We have people afraid of skin cancer, so they're wearing sunblock, they're putting on clothing outside, they're not going outside. And oh, by the way, it is winter. So a lot of people aren't getting outside and getting sunshine, or we have clouds. There's lots of reasons why it's really been more diminished. And we can get D from our diet. We can, but it's very limited. Mainly comes from like the flesh of fatty fish. Yuck, ugh, right? You've heard of fish oils, but yeah, it's not like something we're going to consume all the time, at least not in the Western diet. It is in eggs, mainly yolk, and how many people eat egg whites only now, right? And of course, we have enriched milk with vitamin D, but even that sourcing is not very productive in terms of really helping our D. And so what ends up happening is we have to find a better way. And as a result of all those things, vitamin D has actually become one of the most deficient vitamins, not only just US, but globally. You know, back in the 50s and 60s, you probably heard of kids with rickets. That's why they put vitamin D into milk and other places, because they weren't getting enough of it in Western diet. But it is a worldwide issue. And
I think the statistics are the US is over 60% vitamin D deficient.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, that's huge. When you think about where we are today and all the knowledge we have, we should do better than that. Yeah. But some of it has to do with absorption. I mean, let's talk about our gut problems today. We've got people with Crohn's disease and irritable bowel, and then you've got people that are gluten and dairy intolerant, so they can't take things. All those things come into play with why we're not getting enough. So that's why we need D3+. And that's why it's part of the Rise AM and Reset PM, providing our bodies with all the micronutrients that are often needed in hundreds of processes. All right. So when we chose D3, which is actually something called cholecalciferol. And I promise there's no chemistry tests at the end of this. Okay. There's also D2, which is used very often by a lot of people, called ergocalciferol. That tends to be from plants and fungi. But the problem is it takes the liver a lot more work. These are bioactives that have to be activated, and the liver has to do a lot of work. And so the D3 is much easier, even though it's much more expensive. It is definitely a much better product for our body to be able to take in. And it also is responsible for gene regulation that impacts something like 2,000 genes. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So the important parts of that come with, okay, so we're the D+ product. It's not just the D. The D is super important, but it also does really well when we combined it with calcium and with magnesium. And remember that question about K2? So the thing about the vitamin Ks is they tend to help us utilize D3. They work very well together. It enhances the D3. They work together. They like hold hands, and they're like partners when they're doing their work together. And what we found is that the K1 is actually in our Rise AM product. And we also have a little bit of D3 in there, but it's not enough for most people. You just said 60% or so are deficient. So we need a little bit more. And that's why we have this as a third component of that multi-nutrient system.
Yeah.
And so that K2, what it does, it has two parts, MK4 and MK7. And I know this is a lot of chemistry, so I apologize for that. But it's really important because that K2 helps the body to activate calcium binding, the binding of proteins. And so what that does is when we're adding in the D and we're adding in this calcium, when we're having that K2 there as well, it makes sure that we're doing the right things with our calcium. We're utilizing it to be used in all kinds of things like our cardiovascular system and in our brains and in our muscles. And it allows for our body to utilize these things properly so that we're not building up from too much calcium deposits or plaque in our blood vessels, all those kinds of things. And that's where the K2 comes in. And it really has a huge benefit in really making a significant impact on our whole cardiovascular system with those blood vessels. So we want the calcium used properly, and that's where the K2 comes in with D3 and with calcium and magnesium. So I hope that helped answer your K2 questions.
It does. It does. Maybe if you could, and just help us understand the purpose or the function of vitamin D itself within the body. We know we're deficient. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like we've established that the majority or a large percentage of the population is deficient in vitamin D. And we've heard about it enough, and there's clearly like the fact that milk is fortified, and we talk about different other sources of vitamin D, and anyways, but what is its primary function? Why is it so important or foundational to our overall health? Because it is. What is it actually? What's its function or its purpose within the body?
Well, remember we talked a little bit about the fact that we refer to it as vitamin D, but it's actually hormone based. Okay. And so if you take a look and you know what, one of the big discussions we've had over the last couple of years, it's been of huge interest to people about their immune system based on all the viruses and things we've had happen. And D3 and vitamin D in general in our bodies are really key at helping signal. And so what I want people to think about is, yes, it's important to have strong bones and teeth and all those kinds of things, but I want you to think of the bones. Not only structurally do they hold us up and together, but the inside of them, they're like our bank. They're the bank. And if you consider the calcium and the magnesium and all the micronutrients that are being held inside of our bones, what happens is the D3, the D gets signaled, and it's what signals back to the bones to start letting out calcium and magnesium to do some of their purposes, if you will. So it's really linked a lot to not just our immune health, because our immune health, it's all signaling so that we know when to release our white blood cells. All of those things have an important factor with D vitamins. But it also, as I had said before, has a big impact on our heart, and calcium being allowed to be part of our going in where it's used for it. We forget we're electrical. So there's electrical components, and D does a great job of helping to pull those out when they're needed and to be able to utilize them properly. That's why it was so important for us to add in the calcium and also the magnesium into this product. We actually use 6 forms of calcium in this product because all those different forms have a little bit different uses. And the body takes a look at those, and let's face it, what does our body really want? Food, right? And so it's going to pick and choose which parts of those it wants to use and need every day. When we have 6 different forms, it's doing different functions. And then the magnesium is in there in 4 different forms. And one of them is very heart friendly. To be honest, it's very heart friendly. And magnesium has a great function of helping our muscles with contraction and relaxation. So all of those things are the yin and the yang in our cell. You know, so often we talk about our NRF1 and our NRF2 being the center of the balance of the cell. But this is the micronutrients and the things that help keep all of those things working in the proper balance. And that's why I love what we've put together.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I love that. Like, so, I mean, I think it's common to think of vitamin D in conjunction with the immune support and our immune function, which I think, the pandemic that we're coming out of, I think that became even more clear to so many people. It was certainly prevalent in the media, as we talked a lot about, or the media talked a lot about it, and the need for vitamin D and zinc and other nutrients. This factor of or this concept of just like heart health, and I guess like, so in my mind, so I'm trying to think through this, because I understand that like calcium is necessary for at least skeletal muscle contraction, right? For the muscles to contract, calcium is required, right? And those, and I'm assuming that the heart muscle must be the same.
Very much.
And vitamin D then is I guess, my words, so correct me where I'm wrong, but kind of the regulator of getting that calcium to those muscle fibers so that they can contract and then release correctly the way they're supposed to. So in that regard, it's foundational to heart health, and central health. And
then think about it for your brain too. So one of the biggest benefits is increase in mood. And, I've heard you speak on that often. Who doesn't want improved mood? We all need that, right? Oh my goodness. Yeah. We're all so stressed out all the time and have so much going on. So if it lightens your day and it helps make you have a better day because you're feeling just a little bit better, I think that's a huge impact. And so, yes, it's huge for immune. Yes, it's huge for hair and skin and nails and teeth. All of those things are important. We all want to look great too. But you know what? When it comes down to it, when you've got the internal mechanisms, all those systems operating properly, then you can understand. And I know that a lot of people have given us feedback on Rise AM and Reset PM and how much they've been shocked that it's had an impact on them. And the D3 is like the turbo of that. Okay. It's going to help us to utilize them even better. And that's why I get so excited about D3. When you take a look at all the benefits that provides, it's just hard to believe that you wouldn't want that in your system.
Yeah. So my mother-in-law is using Rise AM Reset PM, and she called the other day to just tell me how, she was amazed at how much better she felt using it, right? And how much better she's feeling. And my niece is with her, lives with her, and anyway, she's a little bit older, my niece, and for her teenage years. And anyway, she was asking, she's like, she's not feeling well. She's a bit moody. And I was like, yeah, she's a teenager. She's like, yeah, but will this help? And I was like, well, what is she using right now? And she's like, well, she is using a vitamin D supplement. And I was like, well, how much? She's like, well, it's, I think like 1,000 IUs. And I was like, yeah, not even near enough. Like, yeah, she will absolutely feel better if she's using D3 plus. And anyway, she called me back late last week and just said, even this is making a difference in my niece's life. It's amazing the difference between a body that is, I'm going to use the word undernourished from micronutrients. And that doesn't mean that we're not eating enough food. It just means that the food is like high calorie, low nourishment, low nutrient. But how different the body feels when it has the right nutrients and in the right amounts at the right time, the difference in how you feel pre and post it's really remarkable. Like you just feel better.
Exactly. And it's hard to believe, and those of us that have been on some of the LifeVantage products, or all of them, it's amazing. I don't think that they expected to see a difference. And it's amazing because those micronutrients are just the fine details to allow us to optimize what our body is now capable of doing. When it's activated, that now gives it what its potential is. And now we want to fulfill that. And that's what I feel, this multi-nutrient system. It's just so brilliant to me. It's just such, I think I heard somebody call it the other day when I was listening to one of the things about the fact that, this is just intellectually amazing to me, how they've put together everything. It's the fact that we have a higher level of understanding than vitamins from the 50s and the 60s. This isn't the one a day. That, that maybe provided a little bit of something, but to be able to have the bioavailability and the utilization of these nutrients that each, we're a complex system. Each of those things go in. And like I said, each of those signalings have to be correct and then connected and utilized for our bones to be the bank to give all those things that we need to the areas that we need it in. And that's what I see this is this is allowing for all of those things to work properly. And D3 is the master of it, but at the same time, it has to have all the components to be part of it to do what it needs to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I agree. I think time-wise nutrient delivery is a very intelligent approach to nutrient supplementation. Let me and I love this concept, and you've said it a couple of times, but the bones being the bank. I don't think I've ever really thought about it that way, but it makes perfect sense the way you've explained it, and to have D3 to signal the release of those nutrients from the bone to support whatever the process is in the body that's necessary, makes perfect sense. So D3 plus, maybe just for those that are watching, like, well, is it right for me? Is it necessary for me? Like, is this a product that everybody needs, that only certain people need? What's kind of the general rule of thumb with D3 a D3 product?
You know what? The way that I view it is just like our NRF2. I just don't really see where there's people that don't. Even people that are trying to eat organically and do all the perfect things, the biggest problem we have is our soil is just not what it used to be. And even when you try to make things organically grown, there's so many crops going on top of crops that we're not getting the proper amounts of nutrients within our foods even. So as good as you can try to eat, it's almost impossible to get those things. And when you take a look at what our dosing is, it is still below, it reaches, the daily requirements. It is a little bit in excess of that, but we need it. And I don't believe that you can really overdo it. There's always been in the past a fear of vitamin D toxicity. But this was thousands and thousands and thousands of doses, and they weren't putting it together properly the way that we are, with the proper delivery systems and nutrients surrounding it. And that's where the problem came in. They'd get all this D in their body, and their body couldn't utilize it because it didn't have the other parts. Yeah. And so for me, I feel very comfortable in telling people that, you know what, and especially in this day and age where we're not out in the sunlight, there's no way we're getting 70 to 80% of our D from the sun anymore. We just can't. And so just between lifestyle, weather, and all the different things we have going on, and absorbability of our gut, all those come into play. So to me, this just gives us a fighting chance.
Well, yeah, and I think about, anyways, not that I need to talk about myself, but thinking about, sorry, I'm looking out the window as we're talking because I'm looking at the sun. But even like, I live in Utah, right? I'm in the corporate office, and it's winter and it's cold. And typically when I come to work, it's dark. And when I leave, it's dark, or leave the office, it's dark. But even then, like, I've got long sleeves on, long pants. And when I go outside, I almost always have a hat on because you only burn this once and you don't do it again. So I've always got a hat on. So like, it's a recipe for failure, right? Because I'm shielding myself of any sun exposure. Dang it, we've given.
But don't forget, you can always take the skin off the fatty fish.
Yeah. Yummy. Yeah. So, I mean, I love fish, but I'm not sure about the skin. You mentioned something a minute ago, and it made me think about just overdosing and as you look at our product line, like, so now we have the D3 plus supplement. You mentioned earlier that there's a bit of D3 in the Rise AM formula. Our daily wellness product has D3, and the Omega Plus has D in it, and just so everyone understands, like, we took all of that into consideration. We looked at it and said, let's just assume that someone is using all of these products. We want to make sure that they're not overdosing in any way, and so we formulated accordingly so that you're not. What about you mentioned earlier, there's really no reason that no one should not be using this product, but ages and I need the disclaimer, right? Like, these products are formulated for adults, and so we're not talking about children, but young adults, older, more.
Yeah, it's I would say especially in young adults, because they've got so many other aspects of things that they're really struggling to have. I think that it's becoming generationally more and more difficult. Back in the day, we were told we could have an orange a day and get the vitamin C. It today takes 8 or 10 of those oranges to get the same. And so we just have so many different things that are working against us. And based, as you said perfectly, when we put these products together, it's done as sort of a puzzle. All of them are meant to, because I worked with daily wellness as well. That was also something I had a hand in. And so we knew that we needed some components. The Rise AM came with K1. There's some value to having phytonadione there. And so by doing the K1 in the Rise AM, now we have the K2 and the D3. And I can tell you the K2 is a huge factor. And the calcium is a huge factor. It's just something that's really, really necessary to help keep solid bone structure. And as we age, that's a really, really important factor. Because as I said, because it's the bank, the last thing why do bones get brittle? Because the insides of them get hollow. And they're hollow because guess what? They don't have all the nutrients in there. And so that's what I want you to think of as that picture. And when you see that picture, then you understand the D is going to help us utilize that in a much more productive way. And then the calcium, magnesium, and oh, by the way, let's not forget the horsetail extract. I know that's a just common everyday household name, right? But that's in there too. And it's a silicone that helps strengthen lots of our components, our hair and all kinds of tissues and all kinds of things. And so this has been so well thought out. And that's why I laughingly call it 3.0, because I'm telling you, this combination, there is nothing like it. And it makes me really proud to be part of this team to present this and see and hear the results people are hearing already, what they're feeling so much better.
Yeah. And I think that's, you mentioned it earlier, but that just that multifaceted approach of it and why it is a superior formula. It's because it's not just D3, but we've hammered right D3 and K2, but to your point, magnesium that's in there, various forms of calcium that are in there, the silicon, the boron, the horsetail extract. So it really is an incredible formula. And the nice thing is that for most people, my assumption and belief is for just what little evidence I have of people using the product, they just feel better when they're using it. Right there is, and it doesn't mean that they were unhealthy or that they're unhealthy. It just means that they're deficient because of whatever reason, whether it's just the food source is just not adequate, but they just feel better when they're using it, and so which is really, really encouraging. So
totally optimizing it as we can, and I think that's the beauty, because you know what, if you're going to invest in your body through our products, you want the best optimum outcome that you can have. And that really truly is where we're heading with this nutrient system, is just helping all the parts work smoothly together to the best that we can be. And just think, we get to be in a good mood over it.
Yeah, we're gonna be happy and pleasant, and for those which my wife appreciates. So, all right. Well, it really is an intelligent approach to the whole formulation. We have you to thank for that, because you were instrumental in the development of it. So thank you. Any other piece of wisdom or advice that you want to distill on this group while we've got some captive attention right now?
Just try it. See what happens. This is one of those things that you actually can feel in a pretty quick time frame. Yeah. And I think that's the best advice that I can give.
Well, and I think that's perfect. And I think that's the exact advice of just try it, right? Like, what do you have to lose? For those that are watching, like, if the worst case scenario, there is a money back guarantee if it's not working. And so just give it a try. If you're already using a multi-nutrient or a multivitamin or D3, switch. Give ours a try and see how you feel. And if you're not feeling better, right, take advantage of that money back guarantee. But I'm fairly confident that if you will make the switch, or if you will add these products to your health approach, you will start feeling better. And if you add these in conjunction with Nerf 2 and all the benefits that we know from Protandim Nerf 2, Protandim Nerf 1, and Protandim NAD, you will just feel that much better and setting yourself up for optimal health and cellular health. So anyways, Dr. Nancy, thank you so much. I always enjoy our conversations. I enjoy learning from you and enjoy the time we get to spend with the SAB as well. But this has been very insightful and very helpful. And I appreciate you taking the time, even amidst all of your chaos of the open and everything you were doing, taking time to prepare this and to share your wisdom and knowledge with all of us. So thank you for taking time.
Thank you for having me. And I can tell you, I couldn't do it without this. I could not do it without these products. I can tell you that I blazed through it, and many look at me and go, how do you do it? And I tell them, I have a secret, and I want to tell you about it.
I have a secret. Give me 5 minutes. I'm going to tell you all about it. All right. Well, again, thank you. And for each of you that joined us this evening, thanks for taking time and spending a bit of time with us. We hope it was valuable and well worth your time tonight. Have a wonderful evening. Dr. Nancy, thank you once again. So appreciate your time and appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Activation Nation podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Tell your friends and share your biggest takeaways from today's discussion with anyone who could benefit from them. This episode is sponsored by LifeVantage Legacy, a nonprofit dedicated to improving lives and building a lasting impact for those in need around the world. Learn more at lifevantage.com. We look forward to sharing more with you during next week's conversation. Thanks for listening and being an important part of the LifeVantage community.